Right. There's actually another interesting concept that's come up now, and it's called exercise snacks. And I talk about this is that they're saying that we need to, according to science, not just be sedentary 23 hours a day and then have that 1 hour at the gym. It takes about 45 minutes to undo 8 hours of sitting at a desk. So we need to do what's called exercise snacks, where every hour we're moving our bodies. We're finding ways to get into natural states of movement where we might, if we're working from home, run out in the backyard, do a couple of those sprints, or pick up some cans or, that jug of milk, or, do some things, do some squats by your computer. Like, just find ways to move your body throughout the day so that we're doing it consistently and we're not just trapped into sedentary states.
Hey, it's JJ, and welcome to Ask the Health Expert. But this isn't just any old Ask the Health Expert session. This is your bonus session. Yes, it's the weekend, and because it's the weekend, we are going to take some time with an amazing expert. So be on the lookout for these Saturday Ask the Health Expert bonus sessions where we're going to go deep into an amazing subject with an incredible expert to give you actionable items that you can put into your life. Oh my gosh, imagine if you got diagnosed with Epstein-Barr Virus, chronic fatigue syndrome, fibromyalgia, depression, insomnia, obesity, and even a pituitary tumor. What would you do? Well, if you're my guest, Shawn Wells, you would go and become the leading nutritional biochemist, an expert on health optimization, a chief clinical dietitian with over a decade now of clinical experience. You'd go and learn everything first to fix your health and then become a leading expert to be able to help hundreds of thousands of others. And here's what's super cool. Now, Shawn is a world-renowned thought leader and author on mitochondrial health and focuses on how to gain energy. So we're going to be talking today about his new book, The Energy Formula, and some really interesting things that you can take away on how to have more energy through your diet, through your exercise, and then one, of course, super key component, I'm not telling, you'll have to listen. So hang in. This is a fabulous, fabulous interview, and you will also want to make sure that you grab the show notes, because in them I have a super awesome quiz from Shawn. It's the quiz that is where you find your fasting types, and then you have a guide that shows you how to fast per your type so that you have more energy. How awesome is that? You'll be able to get that at jjvirgin.com/fast quiz. Alrighty, I'll be right back with Shawn. Stay with me. All right, Shawn Wells, welcome to the podcast. How have you not been on my podcast before this? I don't get it.
Yeah, that's crazy. And I'm very excited to be on with you.
Either hiding or avoiding me. I'm not sure which. I'm going to go with hiding. So We've got you here now. You're talking about a subject that, I think when they say like the two biggest reasons people go to the doctor is because they hurt or they're tired. So energy is always a hot topic, especially with how you're going to talk about energy and fasting, like all the most hot things at once. So you have your new book, The Energy Formula. What possessed you to get into energy?
Mostly that I've had autoimmune issues most of my life and had fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue syndrome, Hashimoto's, Epstein-Barr, a lot of physical pain in terms of, I've had 2 cervical discs removed, and I was always...
You got in the wrong line when you were born. Something.
I know. I know. And I think the entrepreneurial drive didn't help. My insecure drive for achievement and trying to prove myself and working 80 hours a week and all that. So all that compounded with my body beating itself down. And I felt like I was without energy for a long time. I stumbled into the ketogenic diet, ended up becoming a registered dietitian, certified sports nutritionist, and biochemist, and then started working on ingredients to help with immunity and energy. I've patented 2 very popular ingredients called T-cream and dynamine that are in energy drinks and pre-workouts and fat burners all over the world. So I've put a lot of focus into trying to live with energy and how to have a vibrant life.
Cool. So we're going to unpack this then, and we'll look at some of the different things that can impact your energy. And I just want to let everybody know a couple cool things. We'll definitely have in the resources how to get your book. And I know when you get your book, you also get some cool freemiums. And then we also have your quiz, a fasting quiz for energy. So all of that will be at jjvirgin.com/fast quiz. Let's go diet first. You talked first, you said a little bit about keto, and we just mentioned fasting. So let's unpack dieting. What's the best way to eat to help keep your energy? And I always like to say to have good, steady, sustained energy. I mean, you don't want to have like high energy and low energy, right? What comes up must come down, right? So what's the secret?
Well, you've dialed into it yourself. I love the stuff that you talk about with eating a paleo/whole food diet. I mean, the simplest thing is eating whole foods. I know people talk about carnivore, they talk about vegan, Mediterranean, and even keto. And the key is the common thread that we should all agree upon is whole foods. That like, yes, like you can have gummy bears and Coca-Cola on vegan. You could have hot dogs and Spam on carnivore. And you can have lazy or dirty keto where you're eating, these cupcakes that are supposedly keto compliant. But
oh, come on, those aren't okay.
That's not ideal. It's okay sometimes. But the ideal is that we're eating whole food and we're getting ourselves off these ultra processed, high bliss point foods. We're literally in an era with RBGH, RBST, GMO, glyphosate, artificial flavors, colors, sweeteners, all these conditioners and preservatives and things that are added to our foods to make us overeat them, to override satiety signals. And that's where you run into these high bliss point foods where not only is it overriding satiety, but then it's also triggering like foodgasms where your serotonin and dopamine are just going off. We're meant to have spicy or sweet or acidic or crunchy or gooey in foods, right? In nature. But we're not meant to have like 6 of them together. And that's what's being done by these food companies to literally make us be addicted to these foods and feel compelled to overeat them.
I love what you just said. Like I was just sitting there going, that is the best infographic would be the foodgasm infographic and all that stuff. It's like this like orgy of, the gooey and the crunchy. It's like the salted caramel, sundae with cookies. There you go. It's the ultimate foodgasm.
Exactly.
Not that I've ever had it, never. So like beyond eating a whole foods diet, anything else that you would say on the diet piece? I mean, step one, most of the time, there's the occasional time when you might eat a Catalina Crunch Oreo cookie. It's, it's not what you do every teeny bit that makes a difference. It's the daily stuff, right? But what would a typical daily diet of Shawn Wells look like?
That's a great point. And I also, you definitely espouse like lifestyle over diets. You didn't get into this in 2 days and you're not going to get out of it in 2 days. And also don't beat yourself up if you have one quote unquote bad meal or cheat meal, which I don't even like looking at it that way, because, just like if you're eating McDonald's for 20 meals a week and then you have one salad, you're not going to get healthy. And the reverse is true. That if you have a pretty healthy diet and you have one meal here and there that's just enjoyable and a giveaway, a free meal that you're allowed to do whatever, that's not going to really add up either. So that's something I've done for me is grant myself some grace. I do the ketogenic diet, but I also do what's called cyclical ketogenic dieting, where 2 days a week or 2 meals a week, on like maybe a Saturday. So for lunch and dinner, maybe I'll be going out with friends on that Saturday night. I can have whatever I want. But all the other meals, I'm either doing intermittent fasting or a fairly strict ketogenic diet. So for me, that works well.
do you find because you eat healthy, and I mean, we've hung out enough times, I know that you eat healthy, that even when you're going out and going, okay, I'm going to eat what I want, you're probably not choosing, you know, I'm trying to even think of crappy food like fettuccine Alfredo with French fries on top. Probably not doing that, right?
100%. I mean, like you're saying, like once you get into a lifestyle, once you take yourself out of ultra processed high bliss point foods, those foods become something you're averse to and no longer desire. Like I remember, having a Subway sub not too long ago, and it tasted like someone had dumped like a whole bottle of salt on it because I was no longer used to eating processed foods like that. So it just doesn't pull you in the same way. It's too extreme. It's too decadent. Now when I have a chocolate bar, it's lightly sweetened, and that's something that's ideal. It's not. I don't desire like the tons of sugar anymore.
And it still tastes sweet. That's the cool thing, that you can actually retrain your taste buds to like spicy and sour. And then you'll start to eat something like a blueberry and actually recognize the sweetness. So it can be done. I'm glad that you're also confirming that. Well, let's move over to exercise. So then in terms of exercise for energy, what do you recommend?
So here's one of the best hacks for exercise is you might think that you need to be in the gym 5 or 6 days a week, but there's something that you probably heard of called high intensity interval training that in 5 to 10 minutes, twice a week, you can accomplish more than most people are doing low intensity, steady state traditional cardio for an hour at the gym, because you're not going to get radical adaptation, body composition changes when you're training at 40 to 50% of your maximum. You get it at the 90, 95, 100% thresholds. So doing 5 minutes of what is full intensity, high intensity training, like say going from walking or jogging to sprinting all out, and doing that a couple times, just in that 5 minutes, you're going to accomplish more than most people are doing just doing circuit training or just being on a bike or doing the treadmill for an hour, where yes, you're moving your body, yes, you're burning calories, but the body isn't really being forced to change or readopt new mechanisms, new adaptations. It's just not going to happen that way. So that's definitely a hack.
What you say there is super important, and it gives you two different things to look at. And I think that the old model, the bank account model, was how many calories can you burn when you work out? And by the way, when you really look at that, you get on a treadmill, it tells you based on your weight how many calories you burned. It's not actually true, because you would have already been burning some calories during that time anyway. This is just how many you burned on top. So they give you misinformation with this whole thing about how many calories, because your body burns calories anyway. But you really don't want to look at it that way. What you really want to look at with exercise, which is what you just explained, is, to me, exercise is exercise when you get hot, sweaty, and it hurts. That's what exercise is. Now, should we move more and walk the dog and like, heck yeah. But walking is controlled falling. Let's get real. And exercise, like high intensity interval training, lifting heavy, bursting, that is a different thing that causes your body to have to adapt, that creates oxygen debt, that builds muscle. And these are the things that create the change in your metabolism. I remember seeing this study, Shawn, early on, and it was looking at joggers, not sprinters. Joggers and sprinters, very different bodies. In fact, you look at a sprinter or a jogger can kind of have the body of a couch potato because they've got a lot of stress hormones. They're burning up muscle. Sprinters are ripped, man. But they looked at joggers, female joggers, and they went, wow, if they miss a week of jogging, they gain weight. But the sprinters don't, because they've got the muscle mass on them that's maintaining, that's keeping them insulin sensitive, that's keeping them with an elevated metabolic rate, versus those joggers who they're either moving and using calories, or they stop and it stops. So it's a really important thing. Distinction, what you just said, is like, go do the hard stuff. And then move as much as possible, but don't think you're exercising. That walk you did with the dog, that was exercise for the dog.
Right. There's actually another interesting concept that's come up now, and it's called exercise snacks. And I talk about this is that they're saying that we need to, according to science, not just be sedentary 23 hours a day and then have that 1 hour at the gym. It takes about 45 minutes to undo 8 hours of sitting at a desk. So we need to do what's called exercise snacks, where every hour we're moving our bodies. We're finding ways to get into natural states of movement where we might, if we're working from home, run out in the backyard, do a couple of those sprints, or pick up some cans, or that jug of milk, or do some things, do some squats by your computer. Like, just find ways to move your body throughout the day so that we're doing it consistently and we're not just trapped into sedentary states.
I think the best thing that's happened in the house that we moved into, well, a couple things. So now, wait till you see it. I've gotten TRX outside. And then, having my office upstairs means I'm up and down the stairs all day long, which is fantastic. Like, in the perfect world, your kitchen would be like 10 flights up. You'd have to go up and down that thing. So, you could do that. You could get a little exerciser, keep by your desk, something to just keep you moving. We had a gal when I was doing ABC's Extreme Makeover. We had a gal who they wanted her to lose some ridiculous amount of weight more before she was going to go in and have all this surgery, which seemed a little insane to me. But what we did was we took an exerciser, and every hour she had to do some bursts just to keep herself going. So look at what stuff you can do. Maybe you can, put your office up a lot of stairs and go down like I come up and down out of my office like every hour. So that helps. So that's a good one. What about sleep?
Oh, sleep.
I always love to steer it to sleep. Here's the thing, Shawn, whenever someone asks me, like, what do I need to do for energy? I'm like, sleep. So what's your take on sleep?
100%. Like, we're the only species, JJ, that deprives ourselves of sleep.
Wow.
The only species that would do that. Like, any other animal, unless they're in peril, unless their life is like in danger, when they're tired, they go to sleep. When we're tired, we're like, we'll stay up and watch the baseball game or watch Game of Thrones, or we'll stay out at that party, or whatever it is. We force ourselves into states of sleep deprivation, and we say that it's a necessity, and it's improper sleep hygiene. Here's another thing that we do. It's called social jet lag, where we stay up later on the weekends by 2, 3, 4 hours than we normally do. And it's literally like traveling to a different country. It's like we were going to Europe. And our bodies, that's why on Monday morning, we're like, oh my God, what happened? It's because of this social jet lag we're forcing our bodies to do. There's something called circadian rhythm. It's the sleep-wake cycle. We're not nocturnal. We're meant to go by the sun and the moon. We're supposed to be tired when it's dark. We're supposed to be awake when it's light. And they've even shown that people that try and buck that trend with jobs that are in the evenings and late at night, they live 30% less long. So it has an impact on our bodies to try and buck the circadian rhythm, the natural flow of neurotransmitters and hormones. And we're meant to wake up in the morning and by the way, eat during the daylight. There's Dr. Sachin Panda's data talks about that we're meant to eat during those daylight hours and not eat at night. That's turning on our circadian rhythm. That's blocking melatonin when we're eating late at night, along with the blue light that we shouldn't be getting. We should be wearing the blue light blocking glasses, or we should be not getting exposed to all the devices, the iPads, the phones, the TVs, the laptops late at night. All that blue light is blocking the release of melatonin. And this is preventing us from getting the quality sleep that we need. With sleep hygiene, we should be going to bed at the same time every night with proper hygiene, making sure it's at if it's 10 for you and that's the right time, then that's the time you go to bed Monday through Friday, but also Saturday and Sunday if possible, knowing that that's going to have an impact if you do that social jet lag scenario.
So what time do you go to bed and get up?
I am in bed by 10 o'clock and I do
Me
get
too.
up at 5 or 6, between 5 and 6.
I get up at 7. Yes, that it's funny, Shawn, when I met Tim, my husband, he was a 5-hour night sleeper. I'm like, this is not going to work. Like, yes, I've trained him now, though. We go to bed at 10 and get up at 9, at 7. So, and we pretty much, like, it's rare when we're out past 10, only
That's excellent.
when we all get together, that the whole thing goes sideways. But beyond that, that's not that often.
They've shown that the brain is actually insulin resistant. You're actually in a state of acute diabetes, if you will, when you have not got enough sleep. You are in a state of insufficient cellular energy, or there's a brain energy gap. You're not getting enough energy into the cells, the neurons, to fire as well as they should. So that brain fog is real. Your neurons are actually firing slower, and you're in a state of insulin resistance. And that's why they've shown that if you do this chronically, you enter metabolic syndrome. You become insulin resistant, type 2 diabetic, and even have a greater propensity towards coronary heart disease. All of these things from not getting enough sleep. And it gets really bad if you get into sleep apnea, and that's not addressed because there's massive oxygen debt, and literally it can kill you.
What do you think, like, how do you identify the ideal amount of sleep for someone?
I think waking up refreshed, but so it's obviously that's, falling asleep in the right way. In my book, I talk about creating a sleep fortress and that sleep hygiene, going to bed at the right time consistently, but creating that sleep fortress where, it's cool in your bedroom and there's no peripheral light coming in. Maybe wear a sleep mask, and there's maybe scents that help you fall asleep, and you don't have devices around, and there's no arguments and things going on in the bedroom. The bedroom's all about sleep. But then also, like, waking up at a consistent time and having something, like maybe you can buy these lamps that get slowly brighter, and you can buy the alarm clocks or get the apps that the chimes come in, slower and get closer together and a little louder, so you're not waking up abruptly. But it should be a way that you're waking up feeling refreshed. And typically that is 7.5 to 8.5 hours. It depends on the person, but it's something like that. And I like leaving myself in the book. I talk about, there's morning routines, and most successful people have a good morning routine. But you might think, like, I don't have time to do podcasts and journals and all kinds of stuff. And that's cool. If you can just give yourself 5 to 10 minutes, and instead of and rolling out of bed, and I'm exhausted because I stayed up and watched Game of Thrones, and where's the coffee? I need a donut because my brain isn't working right. I feel like I'm in a brain fog, and then I'm running late. I got to jump in my car, and I'm dodging traffic. I'm turning up the radio because I'm exhausted, listening to some music, and then that guy cut me off. Then I get into work, and there's all these emails, and I'm just holding on for lunch, and then I want sugar and pizza and whatever. If you wake up in that calm way that I was talking about, and you have the light slowly get brighter and the chimes come in, and then you do some box breathing for a couple minutes, 8 seconds in, 8-second hold, 8-second out, 8-second hold. Repeat that a couple times. Now say some affirmations to yourself about what a great day this is going to be, like who you are as a person, how proud of yourself you are. Change that inner voice from the inner critic to the inner champion, because if anyone talked to you like you talk to you, you wouldn't be their friend. So you got to change that.
Point.
And go into gratitude and say all the things that you're thankful for. Like, I'm thankful for this person I'm waking up next to, this life that I'm living, that there's sunshine outside, that I have a job to go to. And then you get out of bed, do, a couple minutes of light stretching, grab a full glass of water. And that was like 5 to 10 minutes, and see how your day changes. I mean, you're going to feel like you own your day instead of the day owning you. That's why it's so critical to start that day correctly.
It's so funny, Shawn. I was just thinking when you're saying that, like the idea of waking up to like we just never do it. But that Philips alarm clock you were talking about, it comes up so it looks like a sun, and then it has little birdies chirping. And, it's so nice. Yeah, little birdies. And so even my own alarms on my phone, any of that stuff, we have like pretty little things. We would never use something nasty, but we're so trained now to go to bed at 10 and get up at 7 that we don't. And that's kind of one of my things. Can you wake up feeling rested without an alarm?
Yeah.
So that's another one. I want to pull up one other thing because you mentioned it. What is your theory? Because I think people cannot hear this enough in terms of locking things down after dinner and what time you should eat dinner and what that dinner meal should look like. So I think this, if you're going to make one shift in your eating, if you can change this thing, it has such a dramatic impact. So what do you say about meal timing in the evening?
Yeah, so it's before it gets dark outside, and that's going to change throughout the year. But I do an intermittent fast with 8-hour eating window and 16 hours not eating. So my time restricted feeding, or time restricted eating, as they call it. So it's 8 hours from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. And it's 16 hours for the other hours where I'm not eating, not snacking. That becomes a huge difference, by the way, not just having other meals at different times, but just not snacking. There's so many
Amen.
calories that come in when you're snacking, and you're not even aware of how much snacking you're doing. And it's so great. Like, I just focus now on 2 great meals, and instead of nutrient sparse, crappy meals that I'm having 3 meals and all these snacks, I look forward to my meals, my 2 meals, and they're very nutrient dense and they're calorically dense. So they're very satisfying, and I look forward to them. I mean, they're about 1,000 calories per meal. So they're good meals. And I have like that at like around 10, 11, noon, somewhere in there. And then I have my second meal at 6 o'clock, and then I'm done. And it is, for me, a ketogenic meal, and it's a whole food meal typically. So it's going to be something that's moderate protein, maybe like 30% protein, low in carbs, about 5% carbs, but can have high fiber, and then higher in fat as well. But healthy fats, I like to use a lot of olive oil.
Your heart thanks you. All right. Well, this has been amazing. Tell us what the fasting quiz is going to tell people when they take it.
Yeah, so it's a fasting for energy guide. It's some of the research that I did when I was working on my book, The Energy Formula, that's coming out. And it gets into your avatars. So different fasting types. So I have a different fast for females because there can be concerns there depending on whether you're pre, peri, post-menopausal, depending on how much body fat you have, etc. Some of these fasts may not be right for you. And I cover some of those things in the guide, and we take a quiz and walk you through that. There's also, different fasts, like if you're looking for autophagy, which is like detoxing, versus if you're just purely looking for weight loss. And if you're looking for just weight loss, then you can use things like MCTs or ketones or BCAAs and different drinks that you might use during that time. If you're trying to do autophagy, you might just do literally water and electrolytes. So it can be different approaches, and I walk through like what fits for you and what's best for your body type.
Awesome. That's super cool. So you'll be able to take that fasting for energy quiz. You'll go through it. You'll figure out your fasting type, and then you have a guide to tell you what the heck to do. And you can get that at jjvirgin.com/fast quiz. I'll also have all the info on Shawn's new book, The Energy Formula, how to get that and how to grab a bunch of cool freemiums along with it when you do. And Shawn, thank you so much. It's been awesome. Appreciate you.
Thank you for having me on, JJ. You're amazing.
Oh,
really
sure.
Appreciate it.
Now, after this, I'm going to come back with a little debrief. So stay with me. Alrighty, quick reminder to make sure that you find out what your fasting type is. So all you need to do is go to jjvirgin.com/fast quiz, and you'll be able to take Shawn's fasting types quiz, and you'll be able to find out your type and then which type of fasting is best for you. You know, you don't think about fasting for energy. You'll be able to find the best type for you to fast for energy. And I got to tell you, I have this visual in my mind. It's like I'm dying to get Shawn to create this. When he said foodgasms, I'm just thinking and like all of these high bliss point foods all being put together to create this like craving. And I just kind of see this infographic of like, you know, the crunchy and the salty and the creamy and the sweet, creating this like orgy of flavors. Did you see that too, or is it just me? I can't unsee it. Anyway, all right. It was great doing another deep dive. We've got more of these coming. Make sure you don't miss any of this or my daily dose of Ask the Health Expert. So go to subscribe to JJ and subscribe. While you're there, share with your pals, and I'll see you next time. Bye.